Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining me today for Financial First Aid. Today, I have Scott Schwartz. He's a 30-year veteran of the insurance and financial services industry based in Kansas City, Kansas, and the founder of Never Too Much Money. I think everybody likes that. American six-figure earners who are Financial Peace University dropouts seek him to ensure their dream retirement because they feel stuck and stressed out by debt, uncertain about retirement, and dread the thought of living tied to a restrictive budget rather than living a life of abundance. So he teaches them to copy the way banks and Fortune 500 companies use their money to eliminate debt and invest so they can go from broke to banker. Bottom line, he teaches people how to eliminate their debt in 1/5 of their current pace while investing for retirement with those same dollars, while not paying any more than they already are, guaranteed. Scott has captivated audiences with his personal story of overcoming adversity in many forms, and he relates to his clients because he's been in the same hole of financial hardship and knows the way out. And thank you for being here today, because my Financial First Aid podcast is directed at the people that you are trying to help as well. Welcome, Scott.
Yes. Thank you, Vera. I appreciate the opportunity to visit with you. And yes, definitely, your audience is a perfect match for me. I can relate.
Great, great. Also, like your little tag phrase, which is $2 bill.
Yeah. My thing basically is to teach people how they can spend each dollar twice, multiple times. So turn your dollars into $2 bills.
That's great. I love that. So, Scott, what's the primary focus of your company, and what's the name of your company?
Well, name of the company is Never Too Much Money. Primary focus is to help people get out of debt with an eye towards saving, investing in the future. And that's a key, because most people who feel stuck and swallowed up by debt, retirement or living on passive income is just a fantasy. They can't see it. Mm-hmm. And I help them, like you said in the bio there, to learn how banks, how successful companies, how the wealthy use their money, creating additional income streams and spending those dollars multiple times so that they can do both at the same time, both eliminate debt and invest with the same dollars.
Wow, fantastic. And so what motivated you to begin your journey of entrepreneurship?
My journey of entrepreneurship started because basically I was unemployable. And that wasn't always the case. I had a very good corporate job for many years at a very well-known insurance carrier, a Fortune 500 company. And in 2007, I was laid off. And think of it, 2007, that's right as the economy was getting really bad.
Yes.
So what had been a very robust job market in Kansas City dried up seemingly overnight, and it was very difficult for me to find something else. The number of twists and turns that took place over the next few years were really staggering. I had a good job, pay, no complaints about the pay, and it was a fun job too. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the people I worked with. But then after losing it and having such a hard time finding something else, to have some income, I started helping my then wife at the animal hospital where she worked, working in the kennel. So I walked dogs and cleaned out poopy dog cages.
Okay.
A friend of mine who had a floor care business heard this and took pity on me. He hired me on. So I was sweeping floors, waxing floors at night, and then cleaning up dog poop by day. And that was after I had had an important, very entrepreneurial management level position at a very famous company. So the fall from grace was really staggering. Underlying all of that was some very tense problems within that marriage. Very, very bad. And as long as finances weren't a problem, I was getting along okay. Mm-hmm. Then with finances becoming a very real problem, that really magnified the marriage problems. One kept fueling the other. And it really led to a point, and the reason I say I was pretty much unemployable, I eventually got back with another insurance company, another good job, management job, was going well at the start, but see, all this time with the marriage problems, the financial problems, I had gotten to the point where I had started self-medicating. I'd become an alcoholic. And I lost that job for being intoxicated in the workplace. Mm. And so that was my rock bottom moment. You hear of addicts talk about hitting rock bottom and that they needed to do that in order to make a change. Mm-hmm. And that was my case as well. That really jolted me. At first, in a very negative way. I wrote my suicide letter in full. I had very specific plans. At this time, on this date, November 2nd, 2015, that was going to be it. And obviously that didn't happen. Some very interesting, what's a better word?
Some divine intervention.
Some things happened that day that really made it apparent to me that God was reaching out to me saying, don't do that.
That's great. That's good. Because we're glad you're here, Scott.
Well, thank you. I am too. Thank you, Vera. So that didn't happen. But the stain of that being on my work record, having the layoff, then being terminated, I was thinking I need to do something on my own where I'm in control. Now that I was in control of myself, because that date that was going to be my suicide date actually became my sobriety date. Haven't touched a drop since. So now with control of myself, control of my emotions, I figured, okay, I need to take control of my career as well and really direct my financial life so that I don't end up falling back in that financial hole.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so the financial hole that you found yourself in, what did you do to start, pulling yourself out of that?
Well, the hole was bankruptcy.
Okay.
We filed Chapter 13 in 2009. Mm-hmm. And from there, I've been on food stamps before. After the divorce, had to short sell the house. I told you, professionally for a while what I had to do to support myself there. I even did one of those medical experiments where they inject you with an experimental drug and you stay in their facility so they can monitor your reaction to it.
Oh, wow.
I figured that basically the only thing I had to sell at that point was my health. Just like at one point how I thought basically the best thing I could do for my daughter was to give her my life insurance money rather than be a drain holding her back. Mm-hmm. So I would say the worst thing about it was the emotional. Right. Declaring bankruptcy is a huge blow to your manhood, to my manhood. Mm-hmm. To not be able to care for yourself, mm-hmm. to reach that point where I think that for my daughter's well-being, I'm better off dead than alive. What a crushing blow that is emotionally, personally. It was that hole. It was feeling like I was stuck.
Mhm.
But you asked, how did I get out of that? Well, it took quite a long time. It certainly wasn't an overnight type of process, but getting into sales, getting into the entrepreneurial world, I had to really, it was that sense, kind of like that sense of desperation motivated me
Mhm.
at first negatively, but later in a positive way.
Okay.
I'm not a natural to this, but I have to push. I have to make this work. There is no plan B. I've got to push forward and do the very best that I can in order to pull myself up out of that hole. And that's what really kept driving me, what started me and kept driving me through some challenging times.
Wow, that's a great story. I love that. Because so many times people, when they get kind of in that mindset, they don't understand that really looking forward is the best way for you to go and keep pushing on, because there's got to be a better tomorrow than there is today.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
yeah, but people don't see that all the time because they get so focused on the problem that they don't realize that the solution is right there. Is right there. I love the part where you said I was, at a point of desperation. I was unemployable, and so what what was your mindset that said, okay, since I know that nobody's going to hire me, I've got to think of something that I know that I can do, that I know that I'm good at, that will provide me and my family with, some type of income. What kind of pointed you in that direction?
Well, I had been in the insurance industry at the corporate level. So not sales, not entrepreneurial, but I was a 9 to 5 worker.
Mhm.
And actually more than that since
Right.
but that for a while was kind of a safety net.
Mhm.
But then, and it was what I knew. It was what I was comfortable with. It was what I felt I was good at.
Okay.
And I learned the business from the standpoint not of how do I make the most commission.
Mhm.
I learned the business for the sake of the business. How do we help people?
Okay, great.
We put financial protection in their hands.
Mhm.
We give them a vehicle by which they are protected and by which they can grow their wealth. And so that stuck with me. I knew how to do that for people
Mhm.
from a different standpoint. So now, taking an entrepreneurial view,
Mhm.
I'm like, okay, so I can take that same knowledge
Yes.
and help people understand how these products help them, how I can help them.
Mhm.
And you could say that I've had role modeled for me people that I knew, people that I was servicing as a sort of middleman,
Mhm.
the agent field force. I saw what they did. I saw what they did that I didn't like.
Mhm.
The insurance sales profession has this kind of stigma in the mind of a lot of people of, twisting arms and selling stuff that people don't really want. Um, but I knew that wasn't the case, and I knew that wasn't me. I
Uh-huh.
knew that wasn't my case, I should say. That wasn't the approach I was going to take.
Okay.
I was going to show people how these products help them, how the benefits other than the death benefit help them, things that the insurance industry doesn't publicize well at all and does
Okay.
not market well at all.
Uh-huh.
Um, but I knew that. I knew what those products did and how I could use them to help people. So that's what I gravitated to because that's what I knew.
Uh-huh.
And I knew I was coming from this is probably an overused term, but from a heart-centered place, because I did want to help people and not take on that same, those same characteristics of the arm twister, high pressure type salesman.
Okay, so give us just a quick step-by-step. After you realized that you were unemployable, so to speak, then what did you do to set up your company, and how did you do that?
Well, at first, I did what a typical new insurance broker would do. I went to Chamber of Commerce events. I tried to network with different people in related industries. Had some success with that, enough to put food on the table, but not really hitting the goals that I wanted to do. Finances were still tight. I was looking, you could say, for something that would break me out of that mold.
Mm-hmm.
And what I found, I was contacted by an associate of mine who he was switching companies, and he gave me a call, reached out to me. Would I want to switch companies as well? Talking about upline, there's all kinds of middlemen in the insurance industry. And their responsibility is recruit and train new brokers. So I gave it a chance. I listened to what he had to say very skeptically, not thinking it would really make a difference. And wow, I learned one thing that I really latched onto.
All right.
And it was a process called infinite banking.
Okay.
And it's this process of spending each dollar twice.
Okay.
And so, in very basic terms, what caught my eye, the way it works is, okay, so you put money into this certificate, into this account,
mm-hmm.
and it grows uninterrupted, tax-favored compound interest. Great thing. Okay. Now, when it's time to pay off a debt, when my software shows you that, okay, you're able to pay off, let's say, debt number 1. What do? You take the money out of that account, you pay off the debt, but the magic of it is that account keeps growing that tax-favored compound interest as if you didn't take any money out of it.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It keeps growing at that same rate as if you left that money alone. So it is both growing that savings and paying off your debt at the same time with the same dollars. That's spending each dollar twice. That's what I'm referring to.
Now that's financial first aid.
It is. Yeah. Too bad you already have that name, Vera. I might take that. So that's infinite banking.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought, okay, what a wonderful process
mm-hmm.
to introduce to people. And frankly, a small part of that was salesmanship, because when you go up to someone and you say, hey, I'm a life insurance broker, can we talk? In most cases, they're like, no. I hear my mother calling, gotta go. But now I go up to people and I say, I can help you build up savings and get out of debt at the same time with the same dollars, spending each dollar twice. Now their reaction is, tell me more. How can I do that?
Right, absolutely.
So part of that was salesmanship. Part of it was I was sold on this. I was 100% convinced this is an awesome process. And I am just morally obligated to teach people how to do this.
Okay.
And help them to do this.
Yes, great.
And then with my experience in other aspects of the financial world that I could introduce into this process as well, mm-hmm. that I could even amplify it, mm-hmm. that I can take this process that already exists and has existed for 40 plus years and is well established, and I can take other things I've learned, add it to it. Now I'm even more morally obligated to help people that are now in that same hole that I was in.
Oh,
People
nice.
struggling with the effects of financial stress, with bankruptcy, with being laid off, with whatever the cause of it is.
Right.
I can help them get out of that hole, get over those emotional feelings of failure that go along with bankruptcy,
Mm-hmm.
and get past that block, that mental block that I had. How can I invest money when I'm in debt? I'm not even at zero. How can I invest as if I had extra to spend? Okay.
Love
Now
it.
I've got a way that I can do both at the same time and that I can show other people. So I was really inspired by the potential of it, by what I could do to help people, to help the people that were stuck in that same hole that I was in.
Now, there you go. That's a great way to motivate yourself, to motivate other people, and to help other people too. So what do you think some steps are right now that my listeners could take to help maximize their finances and grow their, what would be their first step to do?
The first step is to get out of debt. If they've got personal debt, you can't get anywhere until you get out of that financial hole. Okay. Right. Mm-hmm. What I want you to do, Vera, here is picture the beginning of a marathon. Okay. Mm-hmm. Boston Marathon 2019, last time it was run, had almost 27,000 runners on one street. Okay. Picture what a mess that had to have been. All right. So if you were at the back of that line, right, you had a long way to run just to get to the starting line.
Absolutely.
Okay? Mm-hmm. 26.2 miles to run. And here you've got even more to run just to get to the starting line.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
When it comes to getting out of debt is not the destination. When you feel stuck in that hole, your mentality is my destination is to get out of debt, to get out of this hole. You need to think beyond that. Getting out of debt is not the destination. It's reaching the starting line. Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. You've got however long of a way to run to get there. All right. But now back to that marathon. Let's say you reach that starting line and one of the race officials gets your attention, calls you over, says, "Hey, Vera, I saw how far you had to run just to get here. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to give you a break and I'm going to give you a ride into the course, shorten that race for you." Okay. Mm-hmm. What he's going to do is make that race only 5.3 miles long rather than 26.2. That's 1/5 of the race. Okay. Wouldn't you appreciate that if someone did that for you?
I would love it.
All right. So getting to the finish line, that is retirement, or for entrepreneurs, that's passive income, living on passive income.
Right.
All right.
Yes.
When you're spending each dollar twice, as you get to the starting line, you don't stay there because you've already been building up savings that shorten that race to retirement. So you get to ride, you get to teleport into the course and shorten that race. Okay. It's very necessary to get to the starting line. You'll never reach the finish without it. So you've got to get out of debt. Mm-hmm. But the best way to do that is to recognize that there is a better way than just working your way up to zero. okay, which is the common approach. The common approach is restrictive budgeting, work 3 jobs, live on ramen noodles, never have any fun. Okay, that's the common wisdom, so to speak, of today to get out of debt. But the thing is, it's not working.
Mm-hmm.
When the common wisdom that's taken for granted as being the way to do things isn't solving the problem,
Right.
that tells you something's wrong,
Mm-hmm.
that's the wrong approach. So many things out there, so many barriers to people in governmental regulations, the banking industry, the things that banks do that really hold us back, that keep us in that hole, keep us in debt. Step 1, we've got to break out of that. You've got to get out of debt to get started with that savings.
Okay.
And hey, if you can do both at the same time, what better way could there be?
That sounds great. I love it. Yes, indeed. That's perfect. And so I always like to kind of end my podcast with 3 things. Our goal here is to educate, motivate, and inspire my listeners. And I think your story is an inspirational story, going from the brink of suicide to really thriving now in your business. Not only thriving, but, helping so many people. I mean, I'm really impressed by that whole idea of spending, saving, getting out of debt kind of all together. And that's a beautiful arrangement. So one thing that you could give my listeners that would motivate them.
Okay, to motivate them, I would want them to think beyond working their way up to 0.
Perfect.
Okay. More is necessary. Just going back to that marathon illustration, more is necessary than just getting to the starting line, than just getting up to 0.
Right.
Okay. I know, speaking directly to your listeners now, I know you can't see that day.
Right.
Where you're investing, where you're retiring, living on passive income.
Right.
It seems like a fantasy right now. But you can do it in a way where you get started now as you're still getting out of debt.
Okay.
That infinite banking, spending each dollar twice. So the number one thing I would say to educate yourself on is the infinite banking process.
Okay.
You
can help us with that, right, Scott?
Of course. Yeah, that's where my obligation is to my moral obligation to help people who are now in that hole where I have been.
Okay.
So it's my pleasure to educate people on that process, how it really is possible, legal, ethical, all of that, everything above board, everything contractual. One thing, Vera, if I might be able to digress just a tiny bit, the get out of debt industry, the working your way up to 0, nothing's contractual. The hope is if you just budget well enough, if you sacrifice well enough, if you practice self-denial well enough, one day, someday, maybe you'll get out of debt.
Right.
I'm not talking about a someday maybe thing. I'm talking about contractually, you will make a guaranteed amount of interest in this account, and you are guaranteed able to use that to pay down your debt. And it's not left up to chance. It's not left up to how well you're able to live a restrictive lifestyle and how often you can live on nothing but rice and beans. It is a real tool.
Okay.
It is a real vehicle that will take you from here to there. And that is what people need to educate themselves on.
You know what? I think you just hit all three of my things at the same time. You educated, motivated, and inspired all at the same time. Because your story is certainly inspirational, and I really do appreciate you taking the time. So, how can my listeners get in touch with you, Scott?
Well, I'm grateful to you, Vera, that I'll have a report, a brief report
Okay.
that you've agreed to make available for your
Yes.
listeners.
Yes.
At the end of that report, it will also invite them to attend my next online challenge.
Okay.
I use online challenges as a way to help educate people on
Okay.
this process, introduce it to them, and go into, of course, more detail than what I have today,
Mhm.
and help them to see that vision where, yes, I can do this.
Okay.
Um, because I want them to see someone who has been in that hole they're in now, has done it.
Yes.
The process works.
Uh-huh.
I can lead them, but the third key to that is that they can do it. I don't want people to sit back and say, okay, well, that's good for you, Scott. You did it. Congratulations. I want them to see I'm no better than them. I'm just a little farther along in that process.
In that marathon.
In that marathon, yeah, very good. I'm a little farther along in that same spectrum, that same course, and that they can copy the same steps and basically follow me.
I love that. That's perfect. That is so perfect. All
Well,
right. Well, yes, go ahead, please.
oh, and so I realized I digressed there a little bit.
That's all right.
So there will be the report on
Mhm.
your website, the invitation to the challenge, and of course, people can just reach out to me, Scott@nevertoomuchmoney.com.
Nevertoomuchmoney.com. I love that. And also they can reach you on LinkedIn and
Yes,
go to your website. Your website is nevertoomuchmoney.com.
correct. Yes.
Okay, good. And they'll see all of the services you offered because I've visited it and it's got lots of good information on there.
Yeah.
Thank you.
The website is in process of being revised. It's not exactly what I want it to be today, but it will be. It will be soon.
I'm at the same place. Financial first aid isn't quite what I want it to be, but it's getting there. So
Yeah.
thank you so much for your time, Scott. It was awesome talking to you. I really enjoyed it. I'm hoping that my listeners will get the same kind of inspiration and motivation and education from listening to this podcast with you that I've gotten. I know the first time that we spoke, I was really kind of floored by your story and how you're doing so well now. It's a wonderful transformation.
Thank you, Vera. I appreciate it. And I greatly appreciate what you do. That stigma just kind of hangs on you for a while. And to have someone like you that really helps people that need it to move past that, what a wonderful thing it is that you provide for people. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, I can't wait till I get a whole bunch of people that really, really are embracing the whole idea because it's been, a journey for so many years, seeing people go through it. They feel ashamed when they first start the process. When they come to me, they feel bad about it when they're going through the process. And the aim of this is to make them feel empowered so that they know that they can move forward beyond this, just as you've done. Thank you so much, Scott.
Thank you, Vera.
Have a good one.